You made a decision to click on this video based on my title and my thumbnail. But now, just 4 seconds later, you have another decision to make. Do you want to continue watching this video? And you're probably trying to decide if I'm going to provide value or if I'm just going to waste your time. Well, my goal today is if you have a small YouTube channel or you're struggling to get views, I want to provide some insight about the way you might want to think about titles and thumbnails and how that can impact your success. But now we're 30 seconds into the video and you've probably glanced down and saw that this channel doesn't have very many subscribers. It's a brand new channel. So why would you listen to me? This is my first opportunity in this video to overcome objections. So let me give you the 30-second resume. I started making YouTube videos about 4.5 years ago. My main channel has 163,000 subscribers. I've monetized 2 other channels in the last year. And in the last 4 years, grand total, I've made around $750,000 on YouTube by getting 87 million channel views. And now I run a mentorship program where I teach other people to do the same thing that I've done. So my goal here is not to impress you, but the point is you don't ever want to take advice from someone who has not done what you're trying to do. And not only did I do it once and grow my main channel where the direct AdSense revenue every year is in excess of $100,000, but I've developed all of my other income sources outside of AdSense, and I've recently started these new channels without pushing them on the main channel. So right now, today, on my other channels and this one, I'm going through the same thing you are. And I know what it feels like to work hard on a video that is supposed to be building you towards your dream of being a full-time content creator, and to put that video out and nobody watches it. So when that happens, you go out and you find all of the YouTube help channels, the same ones that I watch every day. These are great channels that provide a ton of value, and you watch these videos and they tell you to focus on your title and your thumbnail. And I will say, within my coaching program, my second lesson is starting into the importance of titles and thumbnails, because once you get to a certain tier, titles and thumbnails become very important. But I want to make a metaphor here that I think will drive this home, and then I want to give real-world examples of things that have happened in my channel growth and some of the channels that I've worked with that kind of reframe the conversation on titles and thumbnails. So let's start with the metaphor, then we'll get into the real-world examples on YouTube with channels I've worked with. A YouTube channel is just like any other business. So let's imagine the average person starting a YouTube channel and compare that to starting another business. So if I want to open a restaurant, I have a lot of decisions to make. I have to decide what kind of food do I want to serve. I have to get good at making the food. I have to put together a process to deliver the food in a timely manner. And I've got to advertise or find a way to get people to come in to the restaurant. You know, whether that is just your sign out front or if you're running advertisements or whatever the case may be. I work with a lot of small YouTube channels, and I've been through this process a lot of times. And what I see is a lot of people start the YouTube channel, and in the context of if they were opening a restaurant, they go rent the space at the restaurant, they go to Walmart, and they buy some hamburger buns and some frozen hamburger patties. Now they come inside and they put out a sign that says, "World's Best Hamburger." Now you might not have even hired a waitress. You might not have had the inspections done on the building. Do you have a fire extinguisher in there? Do you have different things on the menu? Have you had 100 people taste it and tell you if it's a good burger? And the last thing I want to do is take someone I don't know who has stumbled across this video looking for help and tell them that your problem is that your videos suck. But I'm not here to be your friend. I want to actually provide value, and that means we have to be open to the possibility that your hamburgers aren't very good yet. Now, does that mean that I'm not confident that my food in my restaurant is good, so I hang a sign up outside that says "Bad food, come in"? No. And with your YouTube channel, when you start making videos, your first videos are not going to be excellent. and your titles aren't going to be excellent, and your thumbnails aren't going to be excellent, and you need to be practicing all of those skills at once. So you're trying to make the best videos you can. But an experience I've had recently with a client is putting so much energy into titles and thumbnails that were not congruent with the content. And so if in my video, if I'm doing a routine task and then I put world's best, it takes away all the credibility I've got. And your credibility is the most important thing that you have. So we're going to get into more examples of how this can go south with an individual video and the title and the thumbnail for it. But right now I want to go back to the restaurant analogy. So if you have a restaurant in your hometown and you have the best food at a good price, people will be in there every single day. It wouldn't matter what your sign says. Your restaurant could be called Bob's Burgers or anything else. It just doesn't make any difference. You're not going to have to run radio ads. You're not going to have to rely on tourism and trying to bring people to your area. You know, in a big city, it could be a little different, but like in a small town, if you've got good food at a good price, your restaurant will be full all the time. That's just how it works. And if your restaurant isn't full, you could hire an agency to run ads for you, and you could make a new sign. You could get on the radio. You could do all different kinds of things, but probably the number one thing is focus on, can we make a better burger at a better price? And that's it. And that's where I think as a YouTuber, I'm going to give some more examples. Let's get right into real world, how I operate and how I think about my titles and thumbnails. And then compare it to some channels that are maybe beating me in my own niche. I just had a coaching client that in addition to the mentorship, he wanted to pay extra to fly me out to his property and make in-person videos with him, show him how I record, how I edit, how I create thumbnails, the whole process. And along with that, we're making videos on his property and we're promoting his channel. And it was a great trip. We had a great time, but it taught both of us a lot about how the other person thought about making videos. So the first thing I'll say is that before I got to his property, I had already recorded an entire video in my head and I had an outline for a second. All we had to do was act out the plan that I'd made. I already had a title in mind. I already had a thumbnail in mind. Now on the first day, we might have spent 2.5 hours doing the work of recording the video. But before we started that, we spent a lot of time posing for thumbnails. We did thumbnails in all different locations. We could potentially use this, potentially use that. I wouldn't even start doing the work or start recording the video until we had spent a lot of time talking about title and thumbnail. Now, the channel I'm putting this video on has 163,000 subscribers and 87 million channel views. I know how to cook the burger. I know what my audience wants to see, and I know exactly how to give them that video that they want to see. So now we're trying to advertise. We're trying to bring in new viewers. We've done the basics, and now we're focused on that next level, which is marketing. So for me, in that moment, nothing was more important than title and thumbnail. We spent a couple hours recording the video. Then I spent a couple hours teaching him and his wife my editing process to try to help them with that process. And then we sat there and we worked on titles and thumbnails. So at that point, I've got a video completely done, and I spent another 6 hours working on title and thumbnail. And that seems extreme, right? Like I'm obsessed with titles and thumbnails because I know how to make the burger. So now I have to advertise. And so I made a bunch of titles and thumbnails. I had him make some. Then we had AI make some. Then I sent them out to friends and other YouTubers and got opinions. Then I came home and slept on it. And then I made more titles and thumbnails. I'm pretty obsessed with titles and thumbnails. But we had a problem. And, you know, if you're watching this as my client, this is out of love. But the biggest problem was My video is sending people to his restaurant. And when they get there, they'll give him one bite of the burger and then it's over. It either is a good burger or it's not. So for him, I would say his titles and thumbnails right now don't matter. And if you're watching this, this is how I feel about it. Your titles and thumbnails don't matter until you make sure that people like the burgers. Because here are all the problems you run into when you advertise beyond your product development. And this is true if we're inventing a product and bringing it to the market and you start advertising it, but it hasn't been product tested. It's exactly like any other business. So if my sign says world's best hamburger and it's not a good hamburger, we've got a problem. Everyone who came in that day is not coming back. Now what if it says world's best hamburger and you come in and you're like, okay, I'd like a hamburger. They said, oh, well, all we serve is chicken sandwiches and pizza. We'll say, well, what's with the sign? Say, well, I went on Google and I did a search for what's the best sign to put in front of your restaurant. And an AI thing popped up and said, the best sign you can put in a restaurant is world's best hamburger. So I just hung that sign up. Said, well, but I really wanted a hamburger. That's why I'm here. That person's never coming back to your restaurant. Now, I'm in the middle ground. I've learned how to make a hamburger, but I am not the #1 channel in my niche. My videos, I have a lot of videos that have hundreds of thousands of views. I have a lot of videos with millions of views, but some of my videos only get 5,000 to 10,000 views. There are people within my niche who make 100,000 videos every day. Every video they put out has 100,000 views. And it would be easy for me to make excuses that the algorithm just doesn't like me or whatever else. Same as someone behind me in line of performance could say, well, Brock's just got all the luck. He's just, he started first and so he's got all the luck now, and make excuses. But here's the hard truth that I'm not sure if my ego can handle, but it's the truth. The channels in my niche that 10x my average views are making better videos than I am. And there's no getting around it. Because one of my favorite channels to watch, and it seems kind of rude to bring in someone who hasn't given me permission as a collaborator on this, but I watch a channel called Outdoors with the Morgans. And he gets 80 to 120,000 views on every video. And I would say his titles and thumbnails are as simple and lazy as they could be. His titles sometimes have intrigue in them or curiosity, but for the most part, it looks like he lets YouTube just pick a random thumbnail. He does not even make thumbnails, I don't think. And he gets 10 times the views that I get when I spend 10 hours making that video. Is there a better thumbnail I could make that would allow me to catch him? No. If I just made the right titles, would I get 100,000 views like Mike Morgan does? No, why not? Because he has done a better job of connecting with his audience. There are more individual people in this world who care what Mike's doing today than there are who care what I'm doing today. And there's no excuses for it, and there's no tricks. He has connected with his audience. There's another channel I like to watch called Country View Acres. And we might go out and do the same project on the same day. And my video title will be Crazy Accident, or my video title will be You Won't Believe What I Found, or something extreme or exciting. And I'm putting all this work into it, and I've done all these thumbnails. And Evan from Country View Acres, his title will be I Was Working Outside and I had to stop because it rained. His title will literally just describe exactly what happened. His video will get 5 times the views as mine. And it's because he's not tricking people into watching the video. He's literally just saying what happened that day. And people care because he's connected with his audience. Now, how do you connect with an audience? I don't know, or I would have done it better. But it's hard, I can tell you that. So what I do that I think connects me to my audience really well is I get my face right up to the camera and I say exactly what I think. And if I'm having a hard time, I say, guys, I'm having a hard time. If I'm having a bad day, if I have a failure in my life, I'm like, guys, I had a big plan. You know, I had a business that meant the world to me based on a product I invented. That business failed and I went out of business. And I sat down in front of the camera and I was like, guys, this is really hard. I have employees with families and I feel like I've let those people down. And I connected with my audience by being real and human and direct and hiding nothing. And maybe there's niches where people don't want that. But for the most part, the you in the YouTube is the most important thing. People want to know who you are, not some version of you that you curate. And hanging up a sign that says world's best video will pull people into that video, but you're not building a dedicated, loyal audience by tricking them into watching your video that doesn't provide value to them. Now, at this point, all I've probably done is make you feel worse about yourself, and that's not my goal. My goal is to provide insight that you want to, every video, every time you publish, focus on what's the most intriguing way to advertise what actually happened in this video. What's the best thumbnail? Study ways to make better thumbnails. Put time into it. Does it work better with my face on it? Does it work better with text on it? Invest the time in titles and thumbnails, but you won't win because of that. You will win if you provide value to the viewers, and that's where all your focus has to be. The last shift I want to try to make in mindset is once you accept everything else, if you believe everything else I said, there's one more key that I think people sometimes overlook, and that is that the first 10 seconds of the video are exactly like your title and thumbnail. The first 10 seconds are not part of your content, they are your marketing. You have 10 seconds to keep someone from immediately clicking off because they don't like the look of your face, or they thought this video would be in a studio, or you have 10 seconds where that viewer doesn't know if they want to watch you or not. And then think of it as within 30 seconds, I want to introduce what the conflict is and how I'm going to solve it. Now, you might have a comedy and reaction video, and there's not a conflict that you're trying to solve. But if you have a comedy channel, I need to laugh in 4 seconds. Like, boom. Or say something quirky that I've never heard before. You've got 10 seconds to 30 seconds. And the quicker you can do it, the better. You have a very short window to tell the person that they made a good choice clicking on the video. Now, I'd ask you right now, as we wrap this up, go in the comments. Did I deliver on this title and thumbnail? And how does that make you feel about watching another one of my videos? So I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.